and the conclusions it drew about Jeffery. And there's Aurora with her ninja stick, the sparks flying all over the place. Those are so much better than sparklers. Yeah, you got your recipes. There's your Reclaim the Republic guide, written by Chris Ann Hall. Fantastic. But you know what? Can't go another moment without telling you guys, the Quite Frankly Jamboree. You can get your tickets right through there. The tickets can also be found now on the event page on quitefrankly.tv. It's all right there. It is now available to the public. And let me tell you something, ladies and gents. There's less than 100 tickets left already. And only a small handful of VIP tickets left. They're all gone. It's incredible how fast they're going. But there's more than enough opportunities for you guys and gals. And if they really go that fast, maybe we can create 10 more, because we're under capacity at the venue, because I didn't want it to be too packed. And I also want to invite a lot of family, friends, recognizable faces from the show, so people have a lot of people to talk to and take pictures with and have a good time. So I wanted to leave a nice buffer room for a lot of comped characters to be there. So just wanted to let you know, it is already shaping up to be an awesome time. The tickets were just flying over the course of the weekend, as the monthly sponsors were able to get first dibs on that. But there's still more than enough for people, especially if you're anywhere in the tri-state area or within even 500, whatever is a comfortable road trip for you. Get over here. It's going to be wonderful. Going to be wonderful. And now that this is all out of the way, all I need to think about is just fun. What's the fun throughout the evening? What are the little amenities that we're bringing in? What's going into this and that? And I'll take care of that. You guys just go check out all you need to know, but click on it through the wonderful newsletter, because there's such good stuff there to accompany you with your morning coffee. That's that. That's all I have for you. All right. Well, let's get this one kicked off, because I want to start taking your calls and seeing what the hell you thought about one thing or another. All right. Be right back.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's relay it.
You see, mystery is an intellectual process.
Indeed. Mystery.
But suspense is
all right.
essentially an emotional process.
So there's a lot of mysterious things going on. I mean, well, with what's going on with Texas right now is not mysterious as much as it is just that heartbreaking. Not going to be going through any footage tonight, and not going to be playing any testimonies from people talking about how they had loved ones just washed away from them, and all. It's really it's heartbreaking stuff. But of course, there's plenty of people who are wanted, because what they say, I think it's over 100 people, and family members are being summoned to Kerrville to ID bodies with DNA at this point, and the theories are flying one way or another. If it's not the theories about what caused it, if it's all geoengineered, or if there was something else going on with that. Like, for example, last night, on Saturday night. On Saturday night, Jim Lee interviewed this guy, Augustus Dorico. He's in the middle of a shitstorm right now, this Augustus guy, because he's been on Sean Ryan podcast or something, and other things there too, talking about his cloud seeding. And apparently, he was cloud seeding in the area on July 2nd. Claims he wasn't on July 3rd or 4th, but he's still screwed. It doesn't matter. And he's rightfully freaking out. But Jim Lee actually got him to come on his stream. You can check it out on Twitter/X on, I don't know, almost 2 hours or so. And And he comes to even at the end, I think he comes to the conclusion too that there needs to be more oversight on stuff like this. Just if it's not for cover your ass standpoints, and if we did do something for our protection, for everybody else's protection, if we did harm somebody. So the real question is, if there is any aspect of these incredibly fast surging storms that are just wiping houses away, how much of that was contributed to by all of the cloud seeding that was being done in the area at least a day before all the rain started. So you can check that out. I couldn't get Jim Lee to come on and just give us a 10 to 15 minute roundup tonight because he's working on one of his jobs, but still, it's out there. I got this from Debbie in Kerrville, and Debbie said the following. She said, Frank, I'm your friend and listener here in Kerrville, Texas. I'm sure you've heard about the catastrophic flash flood we had on July 4th. I wanted to let you know that my family and home are safe. We live high up and far enough away not to be directly impacted by this, but the community, local government officials, state government, local businesses, churches, everyone has to come together to help out in search and recovery and with displaced families, as well as providing food and water to them and first responders. After living in California most of my life, it's amazing to see everyone come together in time of need. I wanted to let you know what I've been seeing firsthand. The news is framing everything all wrong. We had no way of knowing what was about to happen. We've had a lot of rain recently, and the night of July 3rd, we went to bed with almost clear skies. Around 11 to 12 p.m., it started lightly raining, but around 2 a.m., it all changed. We had the loudest, most percussive thunder I've experienced in my 3 years living here. We got 5.5 inches of rain from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m., and total of 10 inches rain by the end of the day. I know there's a lot of talk about the missing girls from the camp. It's beyond tragic. There's also many other families and adults that were swept away. We're up to 50 plus fatalities at the time of this email, and I pray it goes no higher. I know people who know many of them and did the math considering the local population. On a grander scale, the impact of loss of life is almost the same as September 11th to New York City. That's in proportion. Please pray for us. That's from Debbie. Now, I don't know. What I would say is, if you have, in lieu of sending a super chat tonight, I don't know who to recommend. When that stuff happened with North Carolina, I raised some money on here. We all sent it to Grindstone Ministries. I think that's who we sent it to. But I don't know. Whoever you feel comfortable with. I don't know what else to do. But what can you do? It's horrible to hear. And that's just from one of our listeners out there. So if you have anything else you want to call in with, thoughts, anything, you can. And we'll take it from there. What else is there? Yeah, I was watching the Kerr County Sheriff deliver all these updates over the last day or so, and it's nuts. And then you see the real scum of the earth. The real scum of the earth. Because I'm not going to judge anybody for saying how much of this is unnatural, how much of this is natural. I understand that. I understand where you're coming from on that one. You know, people's families are ruined. Their homes are gone. Whatever the hell it is, people are affected by this, and you're not denying any of that stuff. But you want to make sure you know why it all happened. And sometimes it really is just as easy as nature can be cruel. The whole thing. It could just, life isn't fair, and sometimes it just happens. But we live in very complex times, and I don't take away anybody's right to speculate. But depending on who you are and why you're speculating is a whole other ball of wax. And of course, you probably, in very limited ways, I saw it because I've actually been pretty detached otherwise. George Stephanopoulos trying to find a way to either blame Donald Trump for making that area less prepared than it could have been, outside of what if people should have been clairvoyant, or I don't know what the hell it is, even though it's been debunked many times that there was no lack of resources or manpower or anything like that. It just happened. but they need wins wherever they can get them, especially those Lego man hair freaks in the media like George Stephanopoulos. What a. And then there's other people. I saw quite a few pediatricians, at least one pediatrician lose her job because she's essentially saying you get what you vote for, Trumpers, as children die. Then again, when I see this coming from pediatricians, liberal women, when I see this coming from pediatricians, I just remind myself, this is what's in their hearts when they cut off young boys' testicles. Just remember that. That's what's really in their hearts. Good. Got to neuter a boy today. Love it. So that's all not nearly as tragic, I should say. Not nearly as tragic as the actual loss of life, but you want to talk about insult to injury. That's a disgusting thing to have to see. So that's why I usually limit my exposure to all types of coverage of things like this. And I just pick up whatever the hell I need and try not to go into comment sections because it's usually a massacre. For human and non-human alike. So there's that. Okay, and then let's see, 718. So you can call in on that. And here's another thing I want to bring up. It's the second thing of the night. The Epstein thing. But before we get there, I want to read a little bit to you from James Howard Kunstler's 4th of July publication, which I really hope that we can get him on the show soon. And beautiful. A little Norman Rockwell feeling out front. And this one's called just the 4th of July. And it starts with a Josh Lippincott, whoever the hell that is, quote. That's still very nice. It's a really good quote because it's helpful. It puts things into perspective. The quote reads, "I can negotiate with a man who wants to make money. I can't negotiate with a communist who wants to kill me." And that is absolutely true. Now, this came out on July 4th. And I'm going to read this to you as a precursor to all the Epstein conversations we might have tonight. And I hope we have many of you call in. But take a listen to some of these things. So he's going on talking about what the 249th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence was really like and what's going on out there and how people kept it all together and where Norman Rockwell really is when we need him the most. You know, just the juxtaposition of the America we all want to have said that we experienced at least a little bit versus where we are right now, the No Kings protests with, people in their rascals and their saggy skin and screaming about, I don't know what, as they're, fighting off whatever sugar low or sugar high that's going on there. And then they have this. He goes on to this part. The struggle to get normal again is epic and harsh. To get back to normal, to shed the burden of absurdities we've been heaped with requires an accounting. An accounting. You know this. Matter of fact, the absence of such an accounting has been bugging you no end. A whole lot of pain and suffering was inflicted across this land in recent years, and barely a soul has had to do any splaining to do, like Lucy and Ricky. It rankles badly. When, if ever, these vicious, seditionist goons who turn the nation inside out and upside down be compelled to sit at the defendant's table in a court of law. I have a theory, says James. The right dogs, you well know, have been in position for months. They understand the conspiracy hatched 10 years ago through and through. Mr. Patel, remember, ran Chairman Devin Nunes' investigation of the nascent Russia hoax in 2017 as a senior counsel for the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and helped draft the Nunes letter, much abused by the perfidious news media that laid out the plot by Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Obama, and company to smother Donald Trump's newborn presidency in its crib. Through some alchemy of mass political psychosis, that conspiracy has rolled on for a whole decade. One malice-driven prank after another. I like that. It continues to this day. Normality, with all of its own problems and hazards, demands that accounting for crimes and insults against people of this sore-beset republic, that fateful accounting is the one element missing in all of Mr. Trump's implacable winning of the past 5 months. Those remembered names fester like an abscessed wound in America's body politic. That wound must be cleaned, irrigated, debrided, and dressed in judicial process that restores the probity and honor of our much-abused law. My theory is that a whole lot of other matters had to be cleared out of the way first, and now that is pretty much where we're at. Mr. Ratcliffe, formerly Director of National Intelligence in Trump 1, is now Director of CIA and also knows all the names. He's been quiet as a tick on a wild dog. Lo, these many months, but on Wednesday, he issued quite a squawk in the public arena of X, no less, along with reports by trusted agency colleagues titled non-toxically Tradecraft Review 2016 ICA on election interference. And this is what he said. All the world can see now the truth. Brennan, Clapper, and Comey manipulated intelligence and silenced career professionals, all to get Trump. Thank you for the career CIA officers who conducted this review and exposed the facts. And then lastly, this fateful report, which lays out the originating crime, should commence the more general institutional accounting so overdue. It's coming. Cases are being laid and made quietly in the background. Cases will be brought. The insults will be redressed. Derangement will slip away like that quicksilver mirage on a desert highway. The inordinate division of recent years will go with it. We will allow ourselves to be a people again, one nation under God, as the old chestnut goes. Next year, on our country's 250th birthday, there will be a special reason to celebrate. For now, patience and fortitude. Now, I'm all for that, and I would love to see it, and I am going to be rooting for it. I always am. I'm never going to let a victory be spoiled by some other defeat, even though the sting of some other defeat, be it big or small, will never truly go away. I'll take it. I want more, but I'll take this. I won't throw this one out because I didn't get another one, no matter how big the other one is. And when you get to somebody like a Jeffrey Epstein, not him in particular, but what he represents, you know, the manhole cover that he represents, he's essentially a manhole cover. Okay, that guy's a sewer cap. To walk past him and understand what he is to really understand how the government standing behind the government operates. That's really what we're talking about here. And this was published on July 4th. And then on the 5th and the 6th, mainly yesterday and today, the 7th, we started getting stuff like this. Here's the FBI, here's the Zero Hedge. This is Ken Silva by way of Headline USA. FBI concludes Jeffrey Epstein had no clients and didn't blackmail anyone and definitely killed himself. Now, I don't know. I'm holding out some sort of, I'm going to reserve myself to say this can't be all real. This just because it's the level of absurdity is so great to go to this length. And there have been so many people who are skeptical over this thing that was circulating. I think it started on Axios, and then the article got deleted, and then it was republished, but under a different author's name. I don't know what the hell happened there. Somebody else might be able to bring it and bring it into focus for us. And if you're out there, this show is going to be largely dependent on your calls. So bring the fire, my friends. Deceased financier Jeffrey Epstein and his colleague Ghislaine Maxwell were both charged by the Department of Justice with sex trafficking, and Maxwell was convicted. But according to the DOJ, the two apparently didn't have any clients. In a bombshell FBI memo leaked to Axios and published Sunday night, officials said that they reviewed more than 300 gigabytes of Epstein evidence and haven't found any vast human trafficking or sexual blackmail operation. The systemic review revealed no incriminating client list. There was no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of the actions. You want to see the list? Here it is. This is what went around. And these are the last little moments, the last pieces in question. The systemic review revealed no incriminating client list. There was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Consistent with prior disclosures, this review confirmed that Epstein harmed over 1,000 victims. Each suffered unique trauma. Sensitive information relating to these victims is intertwined throughout the materials. This includes specific details such as victims' names and likenesses, physical descriptions, places of birth, associates, and employment history. One of our highest priorities is combating child exploitation and bringing justice to victims perpetrating perpetuating unfounded theories about Epstein serves neither of those ends. To that end, while we have labored to provide the public maximum information regarding Epstein and ensuring examination of any evidence in the government's possession, it is the determination of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation that no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. Is it possible? Is it really possible? Is that really possible that this is real? You know, everybody I've talked to said, no, this is real. This is a real statement, and nobody's definitely come out to deny it's the veracity and the authenticity of these published remarks here. But it's just so absurd. It's beyond absurd. I really couldn't even process what the hell I was seeing there, just because the lies used to be better in the past. I got some stuff to play for you. I got some stuff to ask you. Let me see what the hell's what was right over this on this end. And also, let's just be honest here. The post-Independence Day spiritual rug pull is definitely a thing at this point. I don't know what the hell's happened between James Comey's July 5th declaration 2016 to this one, but to get these after Independence Day is a special kind of insidious. That's why I was hoping it was a prank. In 2016, we had the declaration that Hillary Clinton was both a serious felon and also not worthy of prosecuting. And then we got this on a July 6th, and it just crazy. So I said, is it real? Well, I mean, it doesn't look very official, nothing signed, but whatever. Whatever. We'll see what you guys think about it. Here is a little bit of a press conference today with the press secretary, Levitt Carolyn. Is that her name? Levitt? Listen to this.
Okay, so the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network, on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting...
By the way, he's sitting there. I guess that's Peter Ducey. This happened today. This is real. This is not AI generated. So I guess it is real.
on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now.
Now she deflects to some other operation, which good, very nice. They're trying to reduce murder in the United States. That's great. But this is a deflection. I am telling you, I don't care who the hell they are and what administration they're following into this job. It is the worst job in the world. It's truly the worst job in the world to be the press secretary at the White House. I'd go home every night and cry. As a man, I would go home every night and cry. By myself. Nobody would know. I'd weep every night. Why did I do this? Is the money really worth it? I'm not serving anything. Not serving a greater cause. This is terrible. And that I continue to weep. I don't know, man. Listen, I didn't have the highest of hopes, though I did have hope. And I still, who knows? I'm a very optimistic guy. that when it came to getting justice on anything, I was like, I'll take what I can get, because, the long track record that we have to work through is you're not going to get anything. So you remember, but I remember when Trump said that he could have gone after Hillary Clinton during his first go around at the White House. He admitted that, and then later admitted that he took sort of a protective stance around her because of her involvement in launching the Russia investigation and everything else. He said it would be a bad look to arrest the first lady and all that stuff. So, like, bad look. She's a felon. I don't care if she's a first lady. Get her. And everybody else. She couldn't do it alone. Get them. Get them all. And maybe we will. Maybe that's what John Ratcliffe is working on. I don't know. But with Pam Bondi as an AG, who the fuck knows? If anything that they put on her desk is going to be considered actionable to her. Because I got questions that for you guys about what you think about Cash and Dan Bongino versus Pam Bondi, which I forget about it. Forget about her. I mean, what else do you need to see? What else do you need to see? So we were never going to get justice for Crossfire Hurricane. If we were never going to get justice for Crossfire Hurricane, how and when were we going to see the tables get turned over on the Jeffrey Epstein situation? You know what I mean? If you couldn't get something that's way below. Yeah, a little bit of spying, a little bit of, paralysis, trying to paralyze an incoming president that you don't like. Yeah, it's terrible. It's seditious. Need to go away for life and then some. No doubt about it. But versus the Epstein operation, good golly. Now, there are plenty of people out there claiming that Occam's razor, I've seen it out there too. And again, who knows who's real and who's AI, but I've had quite a few real people in my life make similar comments, and I've just had to roll my eyes and pick and choose my battles. But there's plenty of people out there claiming that, well, listen, Occam's razor is that Trump is in the Epstein files or the client list or whatever, and that's why this is all happening. But Occam's razor tells me that Donald Trump would have long since been isolated and burned down by selective Epstein leaks, if not for any other reason than to prevent his first presidency. I mean, geez. You just always remember Glenn Simpson, speaking of Hillary Clinton and the Infusion GPS and all that stuff, but he couldn't make any Epstein connections believable for Fusion GPS, to the degree that he actually opted for golden shower stories instead. How ridiculous is that? So, I mean, the more obvious point here is, to me, the list is vast. Whatever that list is, whatever the profiles are, known associates. I'm not talking about people who called up. I'm not saying that people were calling up Jeffrey Epstein and ordering up illicit and depraved sex acts like you would call your weed guy or something like that. I'm talking about colleagues, partners, network members, all of that stuff. Whatever the hell it is. This client list, whatever the hell it is, it knows no political party. It goes well beyond Congress, and it's really just that string that if you pull, everything comes down with it. Everything. You remember people like George Nader and the access he had to every administration since Reagan onward. You remember Chuck Todd reporting on the pedophilia problem that they had at the State Department while Hillary was the secretary over there? I mean, this is just a string you pull on when you want to bring it all down with nothing left to salvage, which is what needs to happen. But, obviously there's a lot of money involved in this. That has to be directed, and people's lives that have to be carefully managed. And there's that one thing. That's the first point. That it's so wide ranged and it hurts everybody. Second point would have to be organizations like the FBI and CIA were obviously partners in the operation. Therefore, I never thought that there would be ever a complete list. You want to talk about lists and things that were kept down, bookkeeping, whatever the hell it is, there would never be anything that would have been preserved in a way that the public could ever FOIA. at some time down the line, even if it was 200 years later. But there was more than enough over the years to get the hint as to what was going on there. You know, there's more than enough testimony, known associates, the heads of state, the royal families, the business and entertainment magnates and all that stuff. This nonsensical statements made by people like Cynthia McCain pretending to be confused as to why her husband and his friends were scared of Epstein. That's ridiculous. I don't know. That's just what we have over here. So, guys, the DOJ told everyone, remember, essentially right now today, well, I know that Caroline Leavitt does not represent the Department of Justice, but what we're essentially being told right now is to stop expecting answers, which is not surprising. It's not surprising at all to me, because with the Las Vegas massacre, it only took them a year to tell everybody, hey, you're not going to get anything. We don't know. The FBI, when it came to Las Vegas, was like, get bent, assholes. We don't have anything for you. We never will. Now go ban bump stocks and shut up. Okay. Well, it's something. Guns are obviously the problem here. I just don't know. So let's take, I have plenty of things to talk about here. Plenty of things more to queue up. Call on in. It's 914-200-0269. You can talk about anything. If you are from you're from Texas, in any affected area, anything you want to get out there, call in. There's also whatever stories of the day, stories from over the weekend. Come bring in your 4th of July thoughts and all that stuff. I had that 5.5 hours of 1986 Liberty Weekend playing on the Rumble channel over the weekend. That was a nice little break. I got to put that on when everybody was getting sick of the 60s, 70s, and 80s music. But anyway, let's take a call. 479, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank, it's Mr. Mission Control.
Hello, how are you? Give me something.
I'm fixing some nuggets and tater tots right now, but for the let me give you a rundown. Okay, so the thing that happened in Texas was probably some cloud seeding, quote unquote, companies having a little cluster thing going on with buying the moisture that they already knew was coming in. But that's all tied into, the collapsing geomagnetic field and like I spoke about a couple calls before, the polar wander affecting the natural cycle. And then you've got all these guys behind it, buying, whether it's farmers or mineral acquisition companies, natural gas and whatnot, to do this. We've seen it time and time again, and now everybody's wising up. And that guy, the guy that went forward, I'm not going to speak his name, but there needs to be government oversight over this, all these certificates to go out for all this stuff and say, hey, wait, that's a little bit too much here. Who's buying this there? Are you farmers, or what is this company buying this moisture acquisition here for? And then another thing, I want to plug my it's free for everybody. This Geo Sentinel forecast and hazards alert thing I put out in my posts. So and as far as the political stuff goes, man, we all know it's a show. It's just a show. So to get us all upset.
Okay.
And look at gas prices right now. They just dropped out, and that's a big sign that there might be a market collapse going.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Mission Control. A little bit of a list there, knocked them right off. And yeah, I did see a little bit of a depression in gas prices over here. Let's see with somebody else. Let's see what we got here. That's what 484. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank, Scott, how you doing?
Scott, great to have you on. Go ahead.
Dude, this is awesome. I can't believe I got through. Dude, I just got one thing I got to ask.
All right.
What the hell did we arrest Epstein for?
I don't know. And it's crazy because here's another tweet I got. Someone named Brianna Morello says, hey, you know what? Free Ghislaine Maxwell, because apparently she was never sex trafficking young girls to anybody. And then
exactly.
And then somebody responded to her and said the letter said that there were over 1,000 victims, but apparently we can't find any of the clients. So yeah, it's it boggles the mind. It really does.
What did all these girls testify to? What did all these girls come forward saying? That this was all for his own personal pleasure? I mean, he was trafficking these women. I'm Frank. I'm almost ready to say I'm done. I had all my faith in the world in Bongino and Cash, and I'm ready to say I'm done. I can't listen to it anymore.
Well, to that, I'm glad you bring that up, because that's one of the questions I want to hear other callers come in on there too. If you were Cash Patel and Dan Bongino, would you? I mean, how would you approach? Would you resign? I mean, you're on those two in particular are on the record for years talking straight about everything from Russia to Epstein, and now you're being made to make hostage video declarations that defy any logic. And I just don't get it.
How does Dan Bongino ever recover from this? His time with Trump is over. Trump's out of office. Dan goes back. What does he go back to? How does he go back? Saving face.
I don't know how he has more than half of his audience left when he goes.
I don't know either. I can't listen to him anymore. And the whole minute disappearing in the video, you were going to give us a clean video, and you couldn't even do that.
Are you talking about the prison video?
Yeah.
Okay, so it has that. That's another thing. One last question for you, and I see that Frank Zell and a few other people are calling in, so I got to ask them too.
Yeah, that's fine.
No,
that's
but wait. What? I saw this supposed security camera video of the cell block out there. All of a sudden, all these years later, that they said the first bit of information that they published that night, when we all learned that night in August of 2019 that he was dead. The first thing that we all learned, it was a laugh riot, was that it was the sleepy Mexican prison guard meme. Yeah, that's what we heard. Everybody fell asleep. There was maintenance being done to the camera systems. There was nothing there. So I don't know what to even trust today. That can't be real, is it?
You could breach a door in 1 minute. There's no way you can't. I mean, what if you look at that corridor there? That they would come out of that door. You could get out of that door and around that corner in 30 seconds.
All right. Well, Scott, thanks for the call, man.
All right. Thanks, Frank. That was awesome.
Take care. Be well. Frank Zell, how are you?
Hey, Frank, what's happening?
It's happening. What do you think?
All right, hold on. Let me add my brother.
Oh, we're gonna get both of the Zells tonight. Imagine that.
Yeah, big news requires both of us. Hold on. Jim?
Yeah.
Frank?
Jim.
Victor? Okay.
Hey, fellas.
All right, Frank.
I don't know. I'm just gonna let you guys run with it. At first, I held out hope that whatever Axios published with those ridiculous statements about forget about a list. He wasn't even blackmailing people.
He wouldn't do that.
No. So I was first of all holding out hope that the Axios statement was not real. Now I've seen a lot of clips of supposed closed caption television footage of the cell block that we were told had no working cameras in there is going around. I don't know if that's real or not, but just give me your initial thoughts on this mess.
All right. It started. You've seen this coming, like when Kash Patel, when was that, a few weeks ago, said that he saw everything and he believed that Epstein killed himself. So this was coming. That was just to get it out there to prepare. But I'm telling you, man, the Trump base is so radicalized when it comes to this stuff, where I swear, man, it's like they were expecting mass arrests and, people getting shipped off to Guantanamo Bay, and they wanted to see, Hillary Clinton in handcuffs. Dude, that's living in a world that does not exist. The problem is that this has happened before. And along with other important stories, nothing ever comes of it. For example, I've mentioned the name many times on your show. Epstein was just the new Craig Spence. That's what he was. And, Craig Spence, that article about him and, homosexual call boys get midnight tour of White House, that was the front page of the Washington Times in 1989. Front page. Paul Rodriguez did a bang-up job. Guy was a 4-time Pulitzer nominee. He was a true journalist. And that's how we got started, was with that. All right. So that case back then started with just, a raid on a quiet street. Couple of houses were running were running like a prostitution ring. Okay. But what was the Secret Service doing there along with the cops?
Mm.
They lied, the Secret Service, about being there. And then they went back, and then they had to admit it because they were there. They got caught being there multiple times, and then they said, yeah, we were just removing stuff, and Paul Rodriguez was off to the races. And the stuff he uncovered, it's the same stuff. He was blackmailing people, blackmailing congressmen, blackmailing senators, blackmailing military officials, blackmailing titans of industry, foreign dignitaries. Rodriguez had probably dozens of sources that even said it. We don't know what he's doing with the information, but we know the house was bugged. It was blackmail. It was going, and what happened? What happened? And even Spence admitted it himself. He was a big-time lobbyist. He said it was a CIA operation to blackmail in certain powerful individuals. And then of course, that connects to Lawrence King out in Franklin. And that's how that whole thing happened. But whatever came of that? Nothing.
Well,
and
guys,
that's the thing that the Trump base is missing. The Trump base, they think this is it. Oh, this has happened before, and nothing happened. They cover it up.
So
what do you think was going to be different this time?
I don't know. But here's the thing, though, Frank. This seems very. This is essentially, everybody had their open-ended questions about Las Vegas, like I said before, for that first 12 months after that big shootout happened. And then finally, just 1 year later, they essentially said, this is all you're going to get. What this statement we just read last night essentially says is we don't want to really hear any more about these unfounded claims of Jeffrey Epstein being, connected in some way or involved in some kind of high-level arms dealing or anything else like that. It's over. There's nothing here. He was a rich guy who loved abusing children, and for some reason, that's why everybody was afraid to go after him. Because he had money and he had an island. I don't even see. This is the thing that disturbs me so much is that the level of care that they put into this, just throwing this whole thing away in public, is it's incredibly low. There's no care whatsoever. Like, what was his motivation for living? And what was the reason that nobody wanted to take him down? Why did Cynthia McCain say that for some reason John McCain and all of his friends were afraid to go after him? Was it just because of his sexual appetites? They were afraid that Jeffrey Epstein might rape them too? I don't understand. Like, it's lacking in any kind of logic. They must really just think so little of us.
They do, Frank.
They do.
They do. They don't. What's that old expression? Campaign and promises, govern in prose. In other words, do what you got to do to get in, and then govern as you see fit. Forget about what you said. With that DOJ memo, or whatever the hell it was, releasing it on a Sunday night, on a weekend holiday, no less. As soon as I see parsing of words, and getting cute with, okay, They didn't say there was no client list. They said there was no incriminating client list. So there's a client list, but it wasn't incriminating. So there was a list. And then what was the other thing they said? There was no incriminating client list. And then there was some other phrase they got cute with. And that's when I pretty much stopped, and I'm like, all right. So there is a list, but no credible evidence. So there is information there. You just don't deem it credible. It's when you start doing that stuff, and Caroline Levitt, or Levitt, however the hell you pronounce it, I thought it was Levitt. But, she's an excellent press secretary, but you could just tell uncomfortable.
She was uncomfortable, and she kind of was hesitant at times, which is not her style. She is extremely aggressive and on the attack. She was even kind of not taken aback, but she was kind of, she was stumbling a little bit.
She was on her heels, man.
She was on her heels, yeah. Which is
when
totally
you got
not
the
her.
Truth on your side, when you got the truth on your side, it's easy to go up there and be, and be argumentative with the press and, be stern with the press. When this is shady, it's hard, man. It's hard. You're right, Frank. Press secretary is it's a tough gig, man. It's a tough gig.
Well, Frank, just like you were talking when Epstein was first arrested, and we were talking about it, and people were getting ready. Oh man, now the arrests are going to come. This guy's going to sing, and we talked about it and said this dude be dead by August, right? and the guy was dead, and it was like I'm not a psychic. It was like a handwriting was on the wall, and they just said okay. They did it right in front of you, and they said boom, dead, gone, over. He died.
It's
like right in your face.
I think it's
they do it right in your face.
Another little bit of an example.
And they gaslight you.
Oh yeah, with the gaslighting in particular. Yeah. But that's why I was saying that this is a whole new level, because anybody who followed this story even poorly, it's just like, you got to be kidding me. And this is another example of how I believe how little power a president actually has. I mean, they may have have enough leeway to finagle a deal to eliminate taxes on tips if you're a waitress, but they're so much bigger. This right here is so much bigger than our civilian government. And I don't know. Again, I don't know if the cell footage that was released is really being pushed as official, but if it is, talk about adding insult to a long line of insults. Because that was the first laughable thing that we were told after he died.
The cameras weren't working.
The cameras were down, and we had the stereotypical sleepy Mexican prison guard afterwards who was snoozing, and I'll get the
sombrero, right?
Yeah, get the sombrero going, and everybody's sleepy, and that was the first thing that they were told. So I don't know. The footage could be nonsense, and I hope it is, because this is already this released statement is already insulting enough.
Yeah, I mean, and don't forget, they found him in the fetal position with that roommate, with that monster of a roommate that was his, a few days before that. Remember?
Yeah.
He something happened to him, and he had that huge big guy he was with, and then you never saw him again. They transferred him out of there, and wherever the hell he went. So it was like they tried it one time. Whatever happened, it didn't work. The guards come in, they find him on his hands and knees, and then next thing you know, a few days later, he's gone. And
don't forget don't forget that, Frank. Right before he goes, he writes a letter to Larry Nassar.
Oh
the prolific pedophile. And out of all the information that they said that they've turned over from the jail, that letter was never turned over to the press.
Yeah, missing, wherever it is. What was it? What did he need to get in touch with Larry Nassar for? It wasn't a freaking fan letter.
I keep forgetting about that. I keep forgetting about that.
Oh, dude, and the Larry Nassar case itself was never fully investigated, because there were so many players involved with that. But just that he was writing him right before he died, it's incredible. But you said it, Frank. President Trump's just one guy.
One man trying to look. I mean, you can even make an excuse for like, look, I was a big Kash Patel guy, man. I wanted him in charge with the FBI. You know, he wanted to make sweeping changes. He wanted to close down the Hoover building. I think he did. I think he moved it. I think that happened a week or two ago. He just wanted to retrain agents, get the agents out of the building and back on the street fighting crime, which they should be, which he actually did. So he's doing a lot of things that he said, but who knows when you go in there and Bongino, I'm not a fan of Bongino one way or the other. His whole thing was, getting the Secret Service back on track, having them focus on their job at protecting the president, retraining agents, getting bureaucrats, out of the building. Suppose they go in there and they say, guys, you can do what you can do everything you want, but this story here comes to an end. You got to play ball with this, and then you can do the patriotic work you want, but you got to bite the bullet on this. It can be something just as simple like that, because this is bigger than the people in the White House.
Yeah, this is third rail stuff. They can't touch
this. This is stuff that brings down governments. This is what they told Rodriguez back with Spence 38 years ago or 35 years ago, whatever the hell it is. These idiots paid with their credit cards back then.
Yeah.
He wanted all the names, and they're like, it's sealed forever. Hell will freeze over. If we gave you the names, the government would come to an end the next day, because it was senators and congressmen. So who they were, and it never. You think that kind of blackmail stopped? It's such an insidious system. The blackmail operation in D.C., you cannot defeat it. If you release a name, okay, suppose they release 50 names and some of them are in government, they're going to turn around those 50 names and say, oh yeah? Well, each of us got 50 names that we were doing it with.
Yeah, it's like mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. And you cannot defeat this system. So the question you may ask yourself is, well, what do we do then? Well, what can you do? Me and my brother, we learned a long time ago, we tried messing around with congressmen. Didn't really work well for us. I've told that story in the past. So what do? We focus on the cases that aren't going to have interference on a local level, on a state level. Forget about D.C. You ain't stopping that. And they'll lie. They'll look bad doing it. They don't care, because you know why? The American people, they have a memory span the size of a grape. A few more stories will come out in the next 2 weeks, and you'll forget all about it. And you'll move on. Just like Vince Foster and Ron Brown in the 90s, right? Yeah. People, they were outraged for a time. Ron Brown, these were the two highest people to die in government since the Kennedy assassination. Yeah, Vince Foster, hey, I'll be right back. They find him dead in the park. The government. The government tanked their own case against the witness who put other people there at the time of his death. The one prosecutor quit, and the new one came in and literally attacked his own witness.
Well, hold on, guys.
Understand his own witness.
Well, let me ask you this. Well, there's a lot of people, maybe some asking in jest. But I find that they are actually a lot more valid than they are jokes. But people are wondering, and now that this is the official stance from the Department of Justice for the United States, then what about Ghislaine Maxwell? What is she in jail for? And should she start an appeal right now?
Maxwell is in jail for facilitating getting young women to go to Epstein. That's what she's in jail for. Providing for others. She was essentially fixing this whole thing. Honestly, like we were saying there too, when that trial was going on, we were wondering, who were the Johns and what how big are the fish that they're going to give us one way or another. But regardless, I mean, if it was a prime minister of Israel, or if it was just a custodian of a
a middle school somewhere, still there's a transaction going on there. Not that I believe that people were buying access to young children or anything like that. There was much more of again, you're on candid camera and this is the price to play and all that other stuff. So I just
Maxwell. Go ahead, Frank.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
No, Maxwell was like, yeah, I remember watching the trial just like everybody else was keeping an eye on it. And anytime they got to anything substantive with, a tape found, or they would say, well, that's sealed. Anytime they came across evidence that had pictures, no, that's sealed. That's sealed. That's sealed. They almost just tried to make it say it's Maxwell. She's the one, and let her get jail time, and then almost kind of just seem maybe the Epstein thing will kind of go away because she got jail time. Now it didn't go away because people still had tons of questions, right? But it happens all the time in these cases, man. You always try to you get the superficial, and you don't get any deeper, right? You look at the Sandusky case, right? Yeah, Sandusky was doing terrible things. He was totally he was a pedophile, and he was abusing people and abusing kids, right? But it didn't start off Sandusky. The original tip that the reporter got in Pennsylvania was that there were donors that were abusing children. That's how it started, and it all focused on Sandusky. Sandusky went to jail, but then everybody missed the second mile, which was the organization that he was connected to.
Jim, and what happened? And while everybody was looking at the donors and that original news, and yeah, it was three of them. It was three adults that came forward making that claim.
Yep.
And then Penn State brought in Louis Freeh, former FBI guy. And that was it. He just took the lead, and everybody just listened to him as everything he said was gospel because he was the former head of the FBI. So I know better. It's all Paterno and Sandusky and some people at the university, and that's it. And Sandusky, obviously, but that's it. It was always a second mile. And meanwhile, when everybody was focused on Penn State and the people that worked there, and Paterno, Sandusky, I forget a couple of the other guys. Meanwhile, they're boxing up stuff from second mile, shipping it to I forget where they were shipping all the stuff. Texas, I think that Texas. Just getting rid of it and getting it as far away from Pennsylvania as possible. And Jim, when we were looking into it, when we were digging around, we found a great story. We found youth homes in New York, yes, that admitted it to us because they didn't think it was anything wrong at the time. They were shipping kids from the youth home to Sandusky's house at Penn State every summer.
Yeah, Fresh Air Fund in New York.
Yeah.
Take kids from the inner city and ship them over to Jerry Sandusky and whatever they were doing. It's crazy.
And they were willing to talk because, they didn't know about Sandusky and what he was doing. They were willing to talk to any reporter that we set them up with. Not one reporter wanted the story. Why? Because Louis Freeh didn't say anything about that. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. It's not about that. It's about Coach Paterno. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you don't want to hear from the youth home.
One of those derailing unfounded theories.
Yeah, it's just, you put your faith in these institutions. Even the institutions are bigger than these people. They're bigger than Cospitell. They're bigger than Dan Benzino. They're bigger than Trump. Anything that threatens that type of structure where it can do serious damage, no, they will lie right to our face. They'll gaslight you, just like Kennedy, man. Yeah, but I heard 5 shots. No, you didn't. You heard echoes. That's what they do to us. They lie right to our face. It's all right. It's happened to me. I'm used to it by now. So it doesn't aggravate me, but you watch these people on Twitter, man, they're ready to jump off a building.
So, let me ask you about Kash Patel and Dan Bongino in particular. When you've been brought to this point, regardless of what you're allowed to do from here on in, the fact that this case is being left in this condition and walked away from now.
Ridiculous.
What do you continue? Do you resign? What would you do at this point? Because like I said a few minutes ago before you called in, they're on the record for years talking about everything from Russia to Epstein, and now they're being made to make these crazy statements and stand by Pam Bondi and whatever the hell she's doing. And for those people out there in the audience and those people who are out in comment sections that I was observing today too, asking very valid question of, what if, to their shock and dismay, Cash and Dan got in there and realized, wow, there was nothing preserved to work with. There's literally nothing here. It's all gone, if it ever existed at all. Then if that is the case, why don't they say, hey, it appears the previous crew got rid of everything? I mean, I don't know. I just don't understand what compels both of those figures to forget all of the intel that they say that they received in the past from credible sources about the true nature of the Epstein operation, the true nature of this thing. And hell, Dan is on public record citing sources that confirm that Israel in particular was a managing partner in this operation. I don't know what compels them to forget all of that. Well, I mean, we've been listening to you guys for years. It was a wet dream to have these two in there breaking the place up. And it's a little bit too much.
Well, I mean, DC tames everybody at one point or another. I mean, you're not going to go in there and bring that structure down. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, do they look terrible?
Yeah.
Yes. I remember some of Patel's Epstein statements. He looks terrible. Bongino looks really bad because I know the statement.
Yeah, he looks awful. Holy smokes.
But to answer your question, okay, let's say you want to continue to look into this. Look, Julie K. Brown from the Miami Herald, right? It was her and her team who pretty much broke the Epstein story. They're the ones that broke it. Her and her team should have won the Pulitzer. I don't know why they didn't. Well, I guess I do know why, but they should have won the Pulitzer. But, just follow her. She put out a tweet a couple of hours ago. She knows this case inside and out because this was her case. They broke this. She said that there's a ton of FBI documents that have not yet been released to the public. And she said, and there's others, obviously, that are so redacted that you can't even make heads or tails out of it. She goes, the trick is you've got to see and learn what the FBI knew and when they knew it. How long have I been singing that song, Frank? I've been saying it since the freaking guy died, since he was arrested. Operation Leap Year. You want to see, because they're telling you we don't have any credible evidence. Well, let us look at it and see what's credible and what's not. We don't, the client, there is no incriminating client list. Okay, if there is a list, let us see it. And let us make up our minds. But the thing is, that Operation Leap Year, I've been saying it for years and years. That's what she's talking about.
See,
they knew.
I find it very, very hard to believe, Frank, that even when because nobody's ever mentioned leap year. We've mentioned it on this show many times. Whenever this comes up, we say, hey, if anybody is asking for anything of value, ask for all of the work that was done and then scuttled with leap year. Which if you're going to tell me that everything that was collected in operations in New York, in Florida, New Mexico, and the Caribbean had nothing to do with anybody except Jeffrey Epstein, there was no one else that popped up along the way. He was just a lone ranger bouncing between all these places. You forget about the fact that there is connections to MIT and Bill Gates and the genetic engineering side of things. There's so many incredible connections. Wasn't one of Bill Gates's chief science officers a backup executor to Epstein's estate? We learned about that. I mean,
Yeah.
there was some crazy things going on here, and yet when they say that there's no credible evidence and there's nothing here that points to any larger operation, you're speaking on behalf of a department that already conducted a multi-state investigation 10 years ago. Can we just see that?
Yeah, I mean, look, man, it's all there, dude. The FBI went back to the freaking 90s when they went back into this guy when they got involved. I mean, look, the Epstein story took down Acosta, Labor Secretary Acosta. Remember when I called you? I said, Frank,
yeah,
this guy, he's got to step down. And you're like, why? I'm like, dude, this guy's an albatross. He has to go now. And freaking day later, he had to resign. It took him down. Why? He's the one that went there and made the plea bargain. But they told him, get this guy is intelligence. What was he doing?
During the press conference when he was leaving, one of the reporters asked, was Epstein an asset, a government asset? And he didn't even deny it. He kind of laughed it off. He was like, "Well, we're not gonna touch that."
Wait, no, Jim, you remember?
You remember that, Frank?
Jim, it was actually a little bit more than that. He said, "I'm going to take one more question." I believe he said, "I'm going to take one more question," and the last question that came in was whether or not Epstein was an asset, and he kind of fumbled through that one and then stayed on to take a couple more questions, I believe, because he wanted to not let that be the last thing that was on the record. So he wanted to. I think he stayed on for a couple more questions after that because he wanted to bury it a little bit. But yeah, I have to find that press conference and find the timestamp.
Yeah, because I mean, he says it right there. He tries to kind of like not answer it. He fumbles, like you said, through it. But the guy was clearly an asset. I mean, it's like you can't tell me he wasn't.
So he was just. So it took down Acosta. So I mean, they went through her. The child prostitution stuff started with the Florida stuff. Never mind what the FBI found. They found many more victims during that leap year period too. What has to be done is, it's just like any murder investigation or any crime. When there's a trial and disclosure is released, and during the trial you get to see everything the investigators did. Who did they talk to? What did they follow up on, and what did they bury? That's what needs to be done if you choose to continue down this path. Operation Leap Year is your only hope now. If you were hoping in Trump and the administration to, make all these fantasy land, not going to happen. Now it's really fantasy land. Your only hope now is to go and see who the FBI talked to, what they found, what they buried, then.
Hold on.
That's your only hope. Operation Leap Year, say it, shout it to the hilltops.
Hold on
Operation
a second.
Leap Year.
Wait, I think I might have the the question to Alex Acosta. Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. May
or may not be. I think those.
Can you guys hear that? It's pretty low.
Yeah. I can hear it.
All right. Here we go. I think it's the next question here. It's around 46 minutes in.
Rumors are misconstruing the acts of the office with respect to that particular paragraph. One more question.
Richard Lardner from the Associated Press. Mr. Secretary, were you ever made aware at any point in your handling of this case if Mr. Epstein was an intelligence asset of some sort?
So there has been reporting to that effect, and let me say there's been reporting to a lot of effects in this case, not just now but over the years, and again, I would hesitate to take this reporting as fact. This was a case that was brought by our office. It was brought based on the facts. And I look at that reporting and others. I can't address it directly because of our guidelines. But I can tell you that a lot of reporting is just going down rabbit holes. A few more questions.
Did you hear that?
Bro, you talk about dancing around it, not answering directly.
And it was the last question, Jim. It was the last question. And then when he got that question, and then I actually scanned through with my mouse over here. He took 10 more minutes of questions to make sure that shit was buried.
He wanted to make sure that was buried.
Oh my God!
Because some reporter had common sense to ask a legit question.
Nuts.
Right?
The point being,
I would hesitate.
Yeah. The point being, this ended Acosta.
It did.
It ended his career. I mean, not his career, but his job as labor secretary in the Trump administration. Trump went to him and said, you got to go, man. You got to do the right thing. I'm not going to fire you, but I expect your resignation on my desk tomorrow. I'm pretty sure that's what was said because that's what happened.
Well, I mean,
he was told to do that. I mean, that's obvious because he became an albatross because the left would have went to town with that if he stayed.
The FBI knew what Epstein was for years and years. They knew what his escapades were. You know, where another guy that the FBI knew what he was doing and he stayed around for years and years and years? Dennis Hastert.
Yeah. Well, they swept him up in COINTELPRO, right? They swept him up then.
That COINTELPRO too, with the Clintons used the FBI to basically, as they weaponized the FBI to gather information on their enemies. And one of them was Dennis Hastert. That guy was going to sex parties at houses with kids. And this is what the FBI knew about it. And he was also being blackmailed by Turkey because he was basically a foreign agent for Turkey. And Turkey had him under wraps. They knew about it too. And yet this guy stayed in power for years and years and years. And Frank, what was that Page Boy scandal that was with Hastert? Mark Foley, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Mark Foley.
And you know who was covering that up? Dennis Hastert.
Well, you guys, yeah, it's.
I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate the dive. I don't know where it goes from here. I don't know if it goes anywhere. To be honest,
where does it go, Frank? They just said nothing to see here.
Officially,
this story just popped in my head. I'm sorry, Frank. God, it always aggravated me back then, and that's when Ron Brown died in the plane crash. When you talk about things being done in your face, you know, they had Ron Brown's son. Ron Brown's son was going to jail back then during the Clinton administration. Ron Brown was not going to let that happen, and he pretty much started saying, you know, I'm going to tell him where, you know, quote unquote, all the bodies are buried. The Commerce Secretary is the bag man for the administration. When monies go all over the place, that position is the position that knows where it all goes. So when Ron Brown said, well, if you go after my son, I'm going to tell everybody everything. Okay? Now he's on a plane going to Serbia with other businessmen. The plane crashes. And this is literally maybe a week or two after he says what he says. It crashes. I'll never forget the news reports. Ron Brown's plane crashed. CIA says they think the plane is in the water. It crashed in the water. So where did everybody go? They sent all search ships and everything to the water. It happened well inland in the mountains. The plane was trying to land at the airport, right? And how the planes land in a lot of airports, it's called a VOR beam. Somebody turns a dial at the, air traffic control. The beam locks on to the radar of the plane and brings the plane down, that way. Almost like remote control. Somebody turned the VOR beam really, really too much to the right and sent the thing into a mountain.
I didn't know that kind of control.
Oh, dude, that was such a... So now everybody's like, holy moly, the VOR beam, who the hell... All we got to do is find the guy who was in charge. United States government, we'll get to the bottom of this. Yeah, they find him. They find him dead. He was upset that his girlfriend broke up with him, so he committed suicide.
Right.
So we won't know exactly what he did with the VOR beam. And then Ron Brown's body comes back.
Oh, yeah.
And you remember that, Jim? You got all the military doctors. They take an X-ray of his head, round hole, bullet shrapnel inside the brain. They're like, this is a gunshot.
Wait,
a gunshot.
They
had to make so sure that they sent the team when that plane crashed and then shot him in the head to be sure.
Then why?
That's what happened to Ron Brown.
You see, this is the crazy thing about this whole thing is that if you just wanted to run him off the road or kill him or something like that, then why'd you have to go and formulate a plan that's going to end up with some poor air traffic controller being dead when you're just going to go over there and put a bullet in his head anyway? It's ridiculous.
I think it's crazy, but that's the way the Ron Brown story happened. And then I think all those doctors and nurses that worked on the autopsy with Ron Brown that said, they wrote reports saying, hey, we got a bullet hole right on top of his head, and we got, it's called, what do they call it, rain fragments. I forget the medical terminology. It's what happens when the bullet splinters when it hits bone and all that. And a lot of them got fired from their positions because he was writing that report. But that's the story of Ron Brown. Nobody bought it, but, it's the same, and like I said earlier, the same thing with Vince Foster. The prosecutor that was brought on to help bring down the Clintons with Vince Foster tanked his own case. That prosecutor's name was Kavanaugh. Ring a bell?
Yeah.
Yeah, Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. He tanked the case against the Clintons as a prosecutor for the Republicans by destroying his own witness or attempting to understand. And by doing that, that got him chips in the game in D.C. And they probably told him, you'll be rewarded somewhere down the line. And that's why when he was getting ridiculed and, when he was going through that confirmation process, right, and I called and say, good for him, man, because I knew what he did. I remembered. Nobody else did. And I was like, this son bitch, he deserves it. Because he tried to make that guy out to be a homosexual with his witness. He was like, yeah, you went there for gay sex. The witness was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, did I take a leak? Oh, yeah. So anyway.
Frank, that might answer your question, Frank, about why Patel and did what they did, because you bite the bullet and you get rewarded down the line somehow. The sex abuse case scandal in West Point, right? Who was the attorney general looking into that? And then brushed it and put that right and just brushed it under the rug. Attorney General Giuliani.
Yeah, Giuliani's reward. Next thing you know, he becomes mayor.
Mayor.
Everybody gets chips in the game, and that's how
everybody gets. Yeah, that's right. So
I know
that's how it rolls.
Sometimes you hope that the trade-off is not worth that much when you think about all that's really what can be done if all this gets busted up. But then again, like you said, it's everywhere, and how much busting can you really do? But you guys, thank you so much for calling in. You essentially took care of almost half of a show for me, and it's always great talking to you guys. I listen. I don't relish news like this today because it is a very unceremonious end to what has been years worth of very exciting conversation and speculating about, what could happen and how that would benefit society if anything was really adjudicated in one way or another, or anybody was held to a standard that would be considered decent enough for to be called justice. So it sucks that it's under these pretenses, but I always like when we have a reason to get together and shoot the shit because it's always very illuminating. So thank you guys.
Hey, thanks, Frank. Always good talking with you, Frank.
Hey, listen, and I know both of you are hundreds of miles away in either direction, but please, I understand that you have some things on your radar. But if your September opens up, I'd really love you guys over at this jamboree.
Frank, if I can't, right now, because of this move and everything, so now there's things in motion, but if they don't come through, I'll be there. I'll let you know because now I'm like 60-40. I have to go there, but I just don't know if it's going to be possible.
Okay.
Frank, fill me in a little more about the Jamboree. Where is it? Where is it being held?
Oh man, on September 5th, there's only a couple. Either way, you guys would be special guests anyway. But on September 5th, it's going to be a very limited audience over here at Studio A itself, and on September 6th, it's going to be at a really awesome venue about a block away or so. And it's going to be just a night of socializing and light entertainment and great food from fantastic chefs and, all types of wonderful stuff. So it's just going to be, first of its kind and hopefully the first of many. But, it would be great to have a lot of recognizable people just milling around and mixing it up. So I'll text you guys some stuff to put on your radar. So hopefully we can manifest this.
Sure, Frank. We'd appreciate it. Yeah,
right.
Send it our way. Thank you.
All right, fellas. Have a great night.
Okay,
You
Frank.
too, Frank.
Take it
Thanks for
easy.
your time.
All the best. All the best. God bless. There is Frank and Jim Zell. What are we going to do, man? What are we going to do? Cynthia McCain doesn't know what to do. Cynthia McCain doesn't know what to do at all. Take a listen. Take a listen to this again. This is from a couple of years ago, talking about combating human trafficking. This was on C-SPAN.
It's like everything. It hides in plain sight. Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that was, legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him.
What are you afraid of? You had absolutely nothing on him. They were afraid of him? Or they looked into him and nothing was going on? We all knew what was happening. What was happening? You're being very accusatory here. Oh, Frank, well, they knew he was abusing children. Okay, well, yeah. All right. We knew.
All of a sudden, someone said, BS, we're not afraid of you anymore, and what you're doing is not only wrong, it's illegal, it's, all those things. It's like a house of cards now. It's going to start tumbling, believe me. And these guys, if they don't leave the country, number one, they're going to get caught.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, somebody was like, BS, we're putting an end to this. We know that you were just, turning children into minced meat over there at little St. James Island over there for years. We knew what was going on, but we're just so, I don't know. Nobody wanted to go over there. It's too scary. Why are we so scared? Then just one day it was like, you know what? F this. That's what Cindy said. Snake like her ex, I guess. Here's one of many appearances of Dan Bongino. This one was on, I guess, Timcast.
About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it. But the short story, but not who they are. It says, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But this person, who's a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right? Swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff.
Oh yeah, well, that of course. And you say, well, that's very believable. Those are things that we're suggesting. Well, yeah, I'm sure that along the way, when you're in league with so many, dubious characters, and you understand how all this information, all this intelligence is being gathered, and for what reasons, and how it's held over people's heads, and how it's used to influence one thing or another in world events, you think that over the course of however many decades working in that business, that you have your own little insurance policy folders as well. You have a little something that you can hold up and say, hey, well, I got this, and we're going to destroy both. So, yeah, obviously it's all over the place, and I don't think that anything that was ever going to be really of value was going to be in the possession of, was going to be held anywhere that could be FOIA'd. I should say that, because there's no doubt in my mind that our domestic intelligence agencies were not part of the operation. So, yeah. But this is one of many things that he said over the years that's made people say, oh, nice. Well, it's cool to hear somebody with sources, validate us and give us something to think about. And then all of a sudden he goes to work at the FBI. He's like the second in command. And then we get the hostage video. You say, what is going on? What compels both of these guys to forget all of the shit that they said that they received in the past about the true nature of the operation? What compels them? What do you do? 208, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank. It's Salty Nuts.
Hello.
A former fellow streamer on Foxhole.
Good to have you on, Salty.
Yeah, I talked to Adel Nero, and we spent hours per call on these topics. We're a little bit on the opposite side of the spectrum of one another, but we still get along quite well. And so, first off, how's the weather out there?
Fine. How's the weather by you?
It's hot. It's hot. Northern Idaho out here.
Same here.
So I've been kind of doing my show on Foxhole that I no longer do. But when I was doing it for the past few years, I've been screaming from the rooftops as to how things were going to turn out, who Trump really is. And I get blue pills and reading and screaming, and that, you're crazy, you're high, he's a good guy, trust the plan, and all that stuff. And so I'm in there and I'm chatting on your stream over there on Foxhole, and I see people blue pilling my comments when I said, I warned you all about what was going to happen. I told you, I brought credentials, I brought receipts.
What were the receipts?
And so in May of 2017, when Trump converted to Judaism in a secret setting. So I brought that out.
He converted to Judaism in a secret setting?
Yes, in May of 2017.
How did you get the secret information on this?
Well, I mean, obviously you got to dig pretty deep in 4chan to get it before everybody else gets it.
4chan
had after that.
Where did they get the receipts? Where did they get the receipts for the secret conversion?
Well, the 4chan's allegedly the home of Q for the anonymous posting. So asking where would be, I don't know where.
Okay.
But it was always concurrent running the same story. And then it gets out there in the public, and then the newscasters pick up on it and whatnot. And they say alleged, which you have to say because you weren't actually there. But,
okay, so Trump
and he's pumping the whaling wall.
Oh, okay. All right. So, so Trump converted to Judaism. What's the next point? Go ahead.
Well, my only thing I wanted to bring up was it's sad to see the kicking and the thrashing of the buyer's remorse after the "I told you so," and for them to say, "I didn't vote for this." My words would be, "Yes, you did. I told you."
But nuts. This is one of those things again. Like, what would our complaints? What would we be happy about? What crumbs would we be happy about? If anything else other than Trump getting reelected happened. So there are people who are dyed in the wool for one person or another, and they don't see anything beyond that, and they don't really see more than 4 years down the road ever. But there's a lot more people that went into November knowing that especially on this show, what we were saying is we need to prepare our personal lives. We need to prepare our personal assets and what we're doing at home and our souls and whatever the hell else. Yeah. And we're going to call balls and strikes. We'll take the good with the bad. And just know that even if we got 5% of what he promised, it'd be 500% more than what we would have gotten with the with the rec lady, the rec center lady.
Right.
So I mean,
people are willing to take a scrap of meat off of the bone instead of the whole damn thing.
yeah, but I wouldn't call it
and count that up as-
buyer's remorse. We should be used to being upset by now. This is a little bit up the scale of holy shit, and I don't think after we got dangled after they dangled a Matt Gaetz in front of us and we were told to settle for Pam Bondi, this is what I assumed was going to happen to us one way or another. I was not very smitten with her name being brought up, and here we are. So
yeah, it's quite similar to when they wanted Jim Jordan as speaker, and then instead they got this other guy, Mike whatever. And then they're like, well, he's still based, so I'm good with that.
Oh, I never thought. Well, either way,
did you ever watch the Trump money hearings when they were all grilled with questions from the bipartisan selection? The number one question before you pass go and collect 200 was, do you support Israel? That was the preface of you're not going any further if you don't get this right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well,
meanwhile, 1 million people are dead in Gaza, and every bit of munition says "Made in America" on it. And Trump gives $12 billion to Netanyahu on his first day being elected for the second time.
This was something that
it's really a difficult thing.
It is a difficult thing because it doesn't because for anybody, thank you, for anybody to come into that level. For anybody to be campaigning on that level, you always knew it's going to be. Where were you going to get somebody who was going to BTFO Israel? Where was that ever going to come into the equation? So there are people who are just like, don't tell me anything other than good things, and those people are always going to find something wrong, or are going to have to, they're going to be in denial. So you can't take those who are so stuck in the weeds, one camp or another. You can't take them and extrapolate out and say, oh, look at all the Trumpers. I told you everybody has buyer's remorse. No, not everybody does. It's a lot of people who are just fine with it, who are a lot of people who at the very least are just fine that he's disrupting normal media flow for 4 years. That perhaps nothing huge will happen that impacts their personal lives or the world or anything else like that. So some people are just like, you know what? I just needed a little bit of a mental vacation, because the squawk boxing, can we all agree that the kind of squawk box mentality that we have to get, that kind of environment we have to put up with when you have someone like a Kamala Harris or a Joe Biden addressing the nation every day, or a Karine Jean-Pierre addressing the nation every day. At the very least, people are just like, good, just give me 4 years to regroup, and then you can, rake us over the coals again. So I wouldn't take I wouldn't be too comfortable taking too many victory laps there, because you can torment all the true blue, MAGA people all you want. It's not going to take you that far. And everybody else really did not go in this with anything other than, hey, at least we'll get to roll the dice again, and maybe we'll get surprised. Maybe we'll get something good. This is not good stuff. And I've seen a lot of people who really support President Trump localize it, where you can't get around this and spin this as good. You can't call it 5D chess with what's going on with Epstein. But I've seen a lot of people localize it with Pam Bondi. I don't know how you can localize it with Pam Bondi. Do Kash Patel and Dan Bongino not have a voice? And they've been either compliant or mum. And that's not very good, if you ask me. Let's see what else here. 817, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, can I talk to Frank?
Who's this?
Hey, man, this is Ed. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Let me turn that TV off.
Good to have you on, man.
Yeah. Hey, man. So I'm calling from Fort Worth, Texas. So
a Texas caller.
Thinking maybe we could talk about the weather.
Yeah. Well, listen. Give me whatever you got. You're the only one that has gotten through. so far tonight. Obviously, it's we spent 40 minutes with the Zells, but still,
Yes.
Let me know what are you seeing from your end?
Okay. So just as a preface, like a prerequisite, like I'm a real estate agent. I'm a gym rat. I'm a gun nut. Like I know a lot about those things, but what I really freaking like since I was 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, I'm passionate about the weather. Like I follow it. I storm chase. I know the weather. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to say, Thursday morning, I got a phone call from my daughter and it's like, "Hey, take me to Six Flags." And I'm so sick of telling her I'm working. I can't. I'm working. So I checked the weather and I'm like, "Okay, cool. Let's go to Six Flags." It was 80 degrees, very little sunshine, but I did check the UV index and for the weekend because I wanted to soak up some all natural vitamin D. And all weekend was 10 plus UV. And then Friday morning hit and cloudy, rain. It changed so abruptly. And so the only thing I really have to say about it is it couldn't happen. Like this event, 20 inches of rain in 24 hours. I don't know the how or the why or the what. I just want to tell you, it's unnatural. It's not a 1 in 100 year thing. It's not a 1 in a 500 year thing. That was impossible. I think you've had Jay Giulianolo on before.
The nutritionist? You mean? Are you talking about weather? Or are you talking about Jim Lee?
The weather guy.
I actually see Jim Lee trying to call in right now.
Oh, okay. He'll tell you the same thing, man. It was just impossible.
Okay.
It could not have happened.
Well, then you know what? Hold on.
Grab. You know what? Grab that line. Talk to him.
No, because that's a really great setup. Hold on, really great setup call. And you've been living in the area your whole life?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Born and raised here.
So thank you for the call. Let me use this right now. Hold on. Jim, is this you?
All my life, want to fight about it?
Hello, Jim. Jim Lee, listen, I want to just jump right into it. I know we're at the tail end of the show, and I know that you're probably on a break or something like that, but I just had a caller call in to the show from the Fort Worth area or something like that, and he what he described was, leading up to these storms in Texas was a just beautiful, sunny, low humidity days, and then suddenly 20 inches of rain. And he just says that he's been there his whole life, and it's just impossible that it would be natural. And I don't. What do you think about that? Because this, of course, is the crux of at the center of everybody's. When you come away from grieving for the loss of so many precious lives, especially the young, then there are people wondering about what the hell contributed to this. Was it all because of geoengineering or seeding, or was something some aspect of it contribute to the situation? What do you think?
Well, with the remnants of Tropical Storm Barry, in the area, a lot of us, who live in hurricane country, this is pretty common whenever you know that a hurricane's coming and you can feel the dryness before the storm. They're basically huge vacuums. Looking at satellite data, but the ground-based sensors, all of that. Even before July 2nd, on July 2nd, there was flooding at the very southern tip of Texas. Now, the big rage on X was that Augusta Starico from Rainmaker Technologies Corporation, he had 4 separate NOAA, permits. They're not permits; they're just notifications to do weather modification in Texas. He admitted that he did cloud seeding in Runge, Texas on July 2nd He says that he did it at 2,600 feet in altitude, and he released about 60 grams of silver iodide. I actually had him, I interviewed him Saturday night. That's at Climate Viewer on YouTube, at Climate Viewer on X. You can see the interview and hear it from the horse's mouth, because even General Michael Flynn, the Hodge twins, everybody was posting about this and saying, is it true? Did this guy modify the storm? I'm going to ride the fence here, and I'm going to play the devil's advocate at the same time. I said to him, it's the old adage, you break, you buy. And as Benjamin Franklin said, glass, china, and reputation are easily broken and never well mended. So even if he did do it, he would be in for a whole lot of civil liability. If he didn't do it, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, the accusations are enough to really shame a company pretty severely.
And what does the
At
company?
very
What do they do? Are they called in from farmers, people in agriculture who want to make sure that they have some rain to get on their crops? Who's their clientele?
So Texas has what's called the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. In addition to the Weather Modification Reporting Act of 1972, which requires anybody modifying the weather in America to file a form that it's not a permission slip, it's not a permit. They have to, write NOAA and the Department of Commerce on this form and say, hey, we're going to modify the weather at this time. But the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, in Texas specifically, Texas has the most cloud seeding projects of any state in the union. Always has, probably always will. And it's broken up into several different areas. So you got like the Trans-Pecos, you got Southwest Texas Weather Modification Association. There's all these different, areas. So he has 4 separate permits to do weather modification, cloud seeding in Texas. So in almost all these cases, it's usually like water irrigation districts. It's literally like the counties, the municipalities are paying for the rain. There are cases where like Alta Ski Resort, individual farmers pay for this. But by and large, the majority of cloud seeding projects are paid for by water districts, the water managers. So it's your taxpayer funds. It's your money that you pay to your local county that's going to these companies that are modifying the weather. So, of course, he claims that, on July 2nd, he was seeding for about 20 minutes to 2 hours between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And that on July 3rd, that's when the National Weather Service issued a severe, flash flood warning, and they ceased all operations. According to the TDLR, you have to, even if there's a severe thunderstorm warning, you're not allowed to cloud seed. So he would be breaking their laws in Texas. And, I'm inclined to believe that, he probably did do exactly what he said he did. And at the same time, if you know that much water vapor is coming, A, from the remnants of Tropical Storm Barry, and B, from the southeast in the Gulf of America, you had so much water vapor going northeast, meeting all of Tropical Storm Barry, which was coming from the southwest. So you had southeast water off the ocean coming in. You had southwest water coming from Tropical Storm Barry, and it was the perfect storm. They met up right there in central Texas. Here's where I firmly land. A, there's no technology on the planet that can produce that much water vapor. The water vapor has to be present. Cloud seeders have to have clouds in order to do weather modification, do cloud seeding. And if I owned a company and I knew that there was already flooding on July 2nd in the lower, parts of Texas, I wouldn't touch a cloud with a 10-foot pole, because the liability is just too great. So this is something that, his company is going to have to deal with. Were there any other actors outside of that? I suggest, we discussed this. We discussed, Are there nefarious actors outside of your company that could have been involved? Why is there not more transparency in weather modification? I asked him specifically, would you be willing to report in real time? Because what I told him on via text before we did the interview was, you're on Twitter defending your company's name, and your answer is, trust me, bro. Nobody fucking trusts you. Okay? Nobody trusts anybody blindly, especially anybody that messes with the weather. So we're and I told him, I said, had you been reporting in real time when you were cloud seeding, you could prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that you had nothing to do with this flood. But because the federal regulations are so lax, because there is no real-time reporting, there's no accountability, and there's no, proof for the companies that are doing it that they didn't do it. So that's where I firmly land on that. We need more transparency. These people, if they're going to play God, guess what? You're going to have to deal with the fury.
Well, I appreciate it, Jim. Thank you for the special report, and it's still very terrible news coming out of there, and it seems to be getting worse as now cleanup and search and rescue continue on. And we'll talk soon. We'll do a full segment with something soon. It'll be good to have you back after the layoff that we've had.
Well, I'll be a sky sheriff in about 2 weeks, buddy, and back to a regular schedule. So the Rick Grimes of Sky Crimes will have to come on there. By the way, I just snorted a full line of methylene blue. I think I'm aging backwards like Benjamin Button.
Yeah, that's good. That's fantastic. I'm happy. I mean,
I'm going to look younger, tanner, more full faced. I may even mew for you.
Well, you've been fantastic again. Hey, listen, all the best to you. Thanks for popping in. Because this was a hit that we really needed to round out that story.
Yeah, and for those who are interested, the title is "Did Rainmaker Flood Texas?" It's on @ClimateViewer on Rumble, YouTube, and X. Hear it from the horse's mouth. Everybody else is out there making their clickbait and fear porn. I go straight to the source. These people trust me enough to have these conversations. The guy had big balls to even face the wrath of Jim Lee. So kudos to him for, even coming on and saying it. You be the judge. You are the judge, court, and jury. So watch it and share it. I'd greatly appreciate it. And Frank, you're the best. I always shout you out everywhere I go.
Well, thank you, Jim. Did you pin that episode to the top of your Twitter? That'll be easier for people to find.
I would pin it, but I got my Weather Mod history thing up there. I'm actually doing an X Space with Bill Elmore tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. So we're actually going to be doing a full X Space on this. If anybody's on X, if you're a member, you can join that. We'll be taking live questions, probably go several hours talking about it.
I got you up on the screen right now @ClimateViewer, and so if people want to go and follow him there, put on the notifications so you know when he goes live. He does very interesting spaces. I pop in on them from time to time as well, and then toward the top you'll see there it is. Did Rainmaker flood Texas? It's like the third tweet down, so it's right there. It's about an hour and a half long. So follow Jim Lee, and thanks again for the call, Jim.
God bless you, sir. Keep up the good work and keep the lulls rolling.
Yes, take care. Be good. Let's take another call. Javi from Houston. Javi, it's been a while. What's up, man?
Hey, brother. What's going on, man?
Just chilling. How's all by you?
Just raining. So that's why I called, really, to add to what Mr. Lee was talking about.
So
Tropical Storm Imelda and Hurricane Harvey hit Houston. The most amount of rain that we received in one day was 10, 11 inches. Kerrville got hit with almost 10. Kerrville's elevation is like 1,650 feet above sea level. Houston is only 50 feet above sea level. The major difference is, of course, Houston being a city built on a goddamn bayou has like a very major draining system, like civil engineered training system. Unfortunately, Kerrville is basically, the heart of the hill country, very rugged terrain. Like those camps, they set up camps and they set up things like that. Like corporate entities take their people there to go live like cavemen and that kind of shit. And if it rains that much, yeah, you're at the mercy of Mother Nature pretty much, and it's sad as fuck because they were warned, I believe, like 2 hours prior. But yeah, 10 inches in like an hour, dude. That's and that like hilly terrain is it's a fucking nightmare come true, really.
Oh yeah, well, like I said, I wasn't going to put all the images and the time lapse videos on because I'm sure that people have seen it before over the last day or two or three, and it's the most frightening thing. Really is. I mean, the weather can provide all types of nightmare fuel. Whatever the hell it is, it could be wind with the tornadoes. The water comes in all forms. Whatever water comes in, it's just nuts. I mean, ships sinking. Anything that happens at in the sea is terrifying. But just to see these rushes of water cutting through Kerrville and so quickly as well, any idea and any imagination, any kind of fantasy that you can gin up of being able to just ride that current down and keep yourself safe and, find a riverbank and, not and survive somehow. It just, you realize how out the window it is. And it's not even that, it's the secondary deaths that were the craziest. I don't know, man. I don't want to get into all the stories I've been reading because they're abundant, but thank you for that breakdown there too, because that's something to be said about the elevation of Houston versus Kerrville alone, and how modern engineering is able to help you guys kind of literally tread water versus what was a complete washout elsewhere.
It's insane, and like you could see like the there's like natural creeks, of course, that go through the topography of Houston. Then they have their like the big concrete ones. They'll just name it some weird bayou or something. But like, I'll try to find. I'll go through my old Facebook shit and find like videos of those aqueducts or whatever. When the water's going through there, how it gets captured, so you can see how fast that shit's moving. So yeah, extrapolate that. It's instead of concrete, civil engineered structure to get rid of water. It's Mother Nature, and holy hell, man, those poor people, brother.
Yeah, I know.
It just bam, fucking smack.
I'm
sure everyone's seen it. There's that time lapse video of the Guadalupe River, if I'm not mistaken. It's just like, what the fuck? It's crazy, dude.
That's probably the one I saw. All the time lapse videos are nuts. There's several taken from the riverbank, watching one bridge just get it. There's another one with some bridges that are a little bit more elevated above the water line, and these people just are filming in the center of the bridge, which I would be like, get the hell off of that. But yeah, I'm sure that we're gonna get a lot more over the next couple of days. But thanks for the call. Thanks for the perspective.
Hey, no problem, brother. Have a good one. Good night.
Take care. There goes Javi from Houston. All right, let me see here. We have a couple of super chats came in, and I'll just do those right now before we take off. Tomorrow, we are going to be talking about some fun stuff, funny stuff, disgusting things, but in a, not for the sake of just being disgusting. Tomorrow, you better come with your vacations from hell story, where you went to a place, you thought it was going to be awesome, and it was the exact opposite. Go to a room. I've got our Myrtle Beach 2006 story. Me, Anthony, and Mike, our first road trip on our own, 2006. How incredible was that? Went down to Myrtle Beach all by ourselves. It was an absolute disaster. So we'll talk about that. But anyway, that's tomorrow. But for tonight, John Volt says, Frank, you have to do a show on the DMT and lasers phenomenon. It's a wild rabbit hole. Send me some links to it. DMT and lasers. Frank, what is Frank lip syncing? Is the video and the audio out of sync? I don't understand what that means, Kitty. Thank you, Stove. Jay Brits, no super chats. Don't be ridiculous. I'll donate to Texas Flood, but I got to give to quitefrankly.tv. My favorite disaster. Wow. That's a compliment. I'm going to be giving a little too. So, I mean, that's, it's all about research though. And I don't know. I just feel uncomfortable about telling people, hey, send me stuff and I'm going to send it off. I used to do that a lot more, but every time you go and you look into one charity or another that you think is something, there's somebody says something terrible about it. So I just don't even want to put myself in that position, but please help wherever you can with whatever organization you're comfortable. Let's see here. Hello Kitty says those people are idiots. The actual anarchist slogan reads rules with no rulers. What are we talking about? I completely forgot. Rules with no rulers. Who are we talking about again? Are we talking? Was that a comment from in the middle of the James Howard Kunstler article? Kitty again says, "Hey Frank, L and A. My ultimate question is this: what the F is G Maxwell serving 10-year sentence for?" Oh yes. It's a valid question these days. After today, it's a valid question. Tommy Jekyll on Rumble says, sitting with my brother at his house, just having been cut loose from Heart and Vascular Hospital. Him, not me this time. Now you're trying to get us both on our blood pressure medicines. Well, Tommy, I hope you're well. Give me some email updates. All the best to you, my friend. Jeez. Surgeries. All right, let's see. Jay Semo says, great show. Surprise Zell call, but very sobering show. Yes, I know. We need some good news. Oh, the good news will come tomorrow. I heard that there's a little bit of a baby boom somewhere like in the Indiana area. June apparently was a baby boom. I read that. That was nice. We'll see. It could be all like, refugees from Somalia who had the boom. But you just don't know. I'll read into that, see if that's some good news. Let's see here. The HBIC says, watch Augustus' interview from a week ago on the Sean Ryan show. Kid is a Palantir prodigy. Yes, I know. He's been doing a little bit of a media tour. And then all of a sudden this pops up within, 36 hours of a job he took in the middle of Texas. So when Jim Lee got him on Saturday night, it was in the middle of a firestorm because this guy, Augustus, is, he's at the center of everybody's theories and speculation as to what made this so bad so quickly out of nowhere. So you can go check that out. Take a listen to it. Jim doesn't go easy on him. Gives him a platform and lets him have his say. Sean Joe, thank you for the cans. Thank you, Stosu, from the cookies. Evening, Frank and Frankly's. Delona says, 25 years ago, lived in College Station, Texas. Saw the most rain I ever saw in my life. This year reminds me of back then. Well, thank you for sharing that, Delona. I'm happy you're all right. And then Sean Joe finishes it all off. All right, well, that's it for tonight, guys and gals. I will say again, today is the first day that the Quite Frankly Jamboree is now public. It is now public. We have it up. It's the first of its kind. Special guests. I can't wait to tell you the people who are coming. I'm just getting a whole bunch of confirmations of people coming over to spend an evening with you guys, 2 evenings with you guys if you become the VIP. But there's only, I think, 6 left of that. I think there's only 6 left of the 40 that have been set aside for VIP. And then what else? Let me see what we have here. 92. That's where we're at. Oh, no, only 5. Only 5 left of VIP. And we have a little bit of comfort there. We started off with 120. 120 for the main event, and we're down to 92. And we have 2 months. And there's going to be plenty of time. And but they're moving quickly. Plenty of time for us to plan and make this better and better and make sure that everybody shows up. They have a really memorable time, whether they're there for 1 night or 2 nights. I'm going to give you all types of wonderful local guides, and the sponsors are really going to heap a lot of love onto you all. I have to start thanking all of our sponsors. We got wonderful people coming on. Aside from Yes Cacao being on with us, we're going to be interviewing some really interesting people over the next couple of months, especially from companies like Dulce and Pluck. I put the Pluck organ meat seasonings all over my steaks now. Signals, Coffee Revolution, of course, the Quite Frankly Elevation blend. But then there's Verso and Keto Brains. All that is right there on the events page. Check it out. If you're anywhere within earshot of this area, please. We got people. I already have one person, Cohen, out there. Cohen, how are you, man? Coming in from Europe. This is going to be really fantastic to meet a lot of you and to do it at a Quite Frankly branded event. It's going to be a really special night. And I'm going out on a limb with this, but I think it's going to be fantastic, and it'll be the first of many, all different types of events we can put on and make our way, hopefully, around the country. But here at the home base, this is nice. So thank you all so much for tonight. I'll catch you on the flip side. I'll be here tomorrow at 7 o'clock, and with more updates and more fun that we could have together. So good night and have a good one. Bye-bye. That's not what I wanted to do. Never is.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly, filmed before a live studio audience. And now, our super chatters, starting and starring with John Volts. Hello Kitty, Stowstube, Jay Brits, Hello Kitty again, and that's all I have for you there. Thank you to the Rumble Ranters and the Gold Pillars. I'm going to release the scratching right now. Have yourself a wonderful evening, ladies and gentlemen. Right into the show, Frank at quitefrankly.tv. I want to hear from you. And until next time, be good.
Goodbye.
All right, that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Will you shut up? Goodbye.
All right, that's it. Thanks, everybody.